Hello, I'm Casey Kerr, the Redneck Guru. Today I'm going to share an experience with you that happened to me on October 8th, 2014 on a 2,500 acre tomato farm that I used to work on in northwest North Carolina, a very rural town. I worked on the tomato farm as a shipping supervisor. I would work really late hours, sometimes till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, depending on what time the last trucker was coming in to get the last load. I worked on a loading dock in the middle of a field. No lights out there whatsoever, except really the loading dock. Maybe a few street lights going down the roads, but really nothing. And at night I would shut the lights off to the loading dock and I would lay out there. And you can see the Milky Way with the naked eye. It's beautiful. You can see everything. So I would just turn off the lights and I would just always stare at the sky and just always put those signals out there to see if, a UFO or interdimensional being, whatever you want to call them, might appear. I've had 5 experiences in my life, just with UFOs. I've had experiences with spirits in the house, and a few other things we might get into in some different videos, but this one I'm just going to stay focused on this story. So there was a night, remember, it was October 8th, there was a blood moon. It was the biggest moon I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it was right there in your face. When I was going home to eat dinner, the moon was just starting to come up, and so I went home and I ate dinner. I had just a Tony's pizza, is what you call them. I don't eat that garbage anymore. And I had a 1984 CJ7. So I jumped in the Jeep, started driving back to the farm. I live a quarter mile away, right around the turn. And I'm going back to the farm, and I got the top off, windshield down, just chilling, man, just riding. And out of the corner of my eye, I see this orb, this twinkling, glistening, amber color orb in the sky. And I mean, it's flying, it's just hauling ass. It's just like, it wasn't making that noise, obviously, but I mean, it was hauling ass. It was going faster than a jet. And I'm not a pilot, I'm not an expert, but I've lived around military bases my whole life. I grew up on the backside of Cherry Point, Havelock, North Carolina. I slept with jets going over the house and helicopters flying around during their exercises. I currently live in Wilmington, North Carolina, 45 miles away from Jacksonville, one of the largest military bases in the world. And we see military planes, helicopters all the time. I mean, on a daily basis. If you don't see one, you ain't looking up. But so this orb, it was just hauling butt through the sky. And all this happened within 7-10 seconds. It was quick. I mean, it was super quick. Like, if you would have looked the other way, you would have missed what happened. And if you weren't looking up, you wouldn't have saw it. If you were looking straight ahead, for a deer or just one of those people that's always looking down at their phone while they're driving, you wouldn't have saw this. So this orb is just flying through the sky, right? And there's an electrical storm off in the distance. This is a blood moon, and the blood moon is up, all the way up. I mean, it's blood red. It's huge. It's beautiful. And there's this electrical storm, like towards Carolina Beach, probably. And you just see electrical lightning everywhere. And this orb goes flying towards the electrical storm. And for this brief second, this just moment, the UFO that was in the clouds, appeared. It materialized, dropped its screen, whatever it did. It showed itself just for a brief moment. And when it showed itself, it was at an angle like this, hanging out of the clouds. Only half of the UFO was out like this, at an angle. And you could see a quarter of it maybe, just a disc UFO. I mean, it was massive, man. It was fucking massive. And I mean, it had a wall. I mean, that wall had to be as big as a skyscraper, just the face of the circumference of the disc, and just imagine this. Take 4 football stadiums and, I mean, parking lots and everything, stack them right beside each other, draw a circle around it. That's how big this thing was, man. It was beast. It was huge, and it was an awe. I couldn't believe it. So this thing just appeared for a moment, boom. It was like this, basically, hanging out of the sky. And the orb, I'm going to give a finger, orb comes flying at it, right? And this little tiny hatch, this small little hole, and there's 3 lights on the outside of this UFO. Dim light. I mean, you could barely even see them, but it was a luminescence coming from certain parts of the sphere. When this little hatch opened up, and that little orb flew right in that door, and that thing went and turned right back off, and it was gone. I mean, it just straight disappeared. No more. And my jaws dropped. I'm like, what did I just see? I mean, so I literally put into the farm because I threw it out of gear while I'm watching all this, and I'm just pulling in the farm like, what just happened? What just happened? My mind was going mad, man. I mean, gears were turning everywhere. I thought for a brief moment I had my first adult hallucination, and I'm telling you, I don't do drugs. I mean, I've experimented. I was totally sober that night. I don't think I had a drop of alcohol for almost a year and a half. Not because I have a problem, it's just because I don't drink much. Sometimes I like to prove I don't need the garbage, you know? So it's just that. But I was totally sober. People can say whatever they want to say. You know, you real nasty, you was on mushrooms. Nah, but I was sober as could be. So this happened. I'm pulling into the farm. Just, I mean, mind boggled at what I saw. And we have this place that I like to refer to as the crossroads, because there's a point where all the roads just kind of meet together. And it's right in front of the loading dock. And all the roads just kind of meet together. And I pulled my Jeep in and pointed it in the direction of where I just saw the massive disc UFO. And I get out of my Jeep, I'm slapping my hat on my thigh, just talking to myself, thinking, man, what did you just see, Casey? What just happened? And I start talking to God, and I say, God, what was that? What did you show me? I was like, I mean, was that real? Am I losing my mind? And what is going on? So on the bumper of my Jeep, I got my head in my hands, I'm just rubbing, I'm just talking to God, just like asking Him to reveal or just show me what I just saw, you know, because I didn't want to think I was losing it, you know, because people do sometimes hallucinate, but I'm a very strong-minded man, you know, I'm not weak-minded, you know, nothing really scares me. I've dealt with a lot of difficult things in my life. My cat's at the front door wanting in. I'm not going to let her in. She could hang out there. But, alright, so, hold on. Bitch. Okay, so, sorry about that. So, I'm at the crossroads, and I just got my head in my hands, and I'm just talking to myself, and I'm telling you, man, it was like telepathic communication. You know, it was like there was a voice right here inside my head. You know, like they just shot this sound or this communication to my brain. It was nuts. And this very soft, subtle voice said, look over your right shoulder. And I'm like, I look over my right shoulder. And it was just these orange orbs. And they were just turning off and on in the sky, like going everywhere. I mean, and it was just, you know, there it is. You know, you're sitting there talking, putting the signal out there, asking to reveal themselves, and here they are, you know. It was wild. And I mean, they were just boom, 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 boom everywhere. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is nuts. Oh, by this point, I'm like standing on the hood of my Jeep, you know, like, because this is the most intense experience I've ever had. You know, here's solid evidence, concrete proof to myself, because I was there, I know what I saw, that these things are here on Earth, that they are communicating with us in some way in form of fashion beyond our science, if you want to call it science. But, so I'm just like, whoa. And if you like watched them, you know, this happened, the first part happened for a few minutes, so I had a really good chance to sit there and just look at it and really digest it and see what they were doing. And man, I mean, was it one moving at such a fast speed of light, you know, that he was going from one point to another, or was it multiple orbs, you know? And some of them were building shapes. I mean, you could see in there building triangles, they were building squares. There was a set that was building stairs that was insane. One would build, and then the next one would build. And when this one would come on, this one would shut off. But then one would come on here, this one would shut off. So they were going like this. They were boom, 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 retracting and coming back down and like building stairs. And these were off to the right corner of everything. I mean, it was beautiful. And I reached in my pocket and I went to go get my phone. And as soon as I went down and reached my phone and turned on my camera, I looked up, they were gone. Gone. And I was like, whoa. And at that moment, it hit me again. It set right to my head, right inside here. I mean, like, it wasn't in my ear, man. It was weird. You know, it's like they put a thought in there. And it says, put the camera up. This is for you to witness, you to testify, and talk about. Put the camera up. And I was like, all right. And I put the camera back in my pocket, and I'm talking almost instantaneously. As when it was back in my pocket, they were going off again, just doom, 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 everywhere. It was beautiful, beautiful. And I'm just sitting there watching it, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna get my phone out one more time. I was like, maybe I'm just thinking stuff. I'm like, I gotta get this on camera. So I reach in my pocket and I start pulling it out. I turn it on, and they're gone. Nothing. They stopped moving. They stopped revealing themselves, whatever they're doing. And I went right back in my head. It said, put that back in your pocket. This is for you to see and witness and to tell people. This is not for you to record. You know, this is like something sacred that was happening, I felt like. So I put the phone back in my pocket, and as soon as I put it back in my pocket, man, it was on. And this was like the grand finale, almost. It was like a grand finale of fireworks. They were moving at such speed